Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premiere Network on Sunday, August 26th, 2018. This is episode 1518. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by Qualcomm Snapdragon. According to Ookla, Android smartphones with Snapdragon 845 from Qualcomm had faster data speeds on AT&T and T-Mobile than non-Android phones with Intel modems, based on over 1 million real-world tests done in Q2 2018. See all the data for yourself at qualcomm.com/twit. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Wow, yeah. Your worst nightmare, a geek with his own radio show. Time to talk high-tech, computers, the internet. What is high-tech? What is low-tech? We say high-tech a lot, right? What is that? I don't know what that is. High-tech, not low-tech. Is a toaster low-tech? Alan Kay, one of the smartest guys out there in kind of the philosophy of computing, once said that any technology is just something that wasn't around when you were born. So if you were, King Henry IV and somebody showed you a fork, he would have said, wow, high tech. Or if you were, if you were a kid in 1904 and somebody showed you a zipper, ooh, fancy, high tech. So what is high tech today? Rapidly, the stuff we use every day is becoming so commonplace that maybe that's becoming low tech. I don't think so. I mean, really, a smartphone, that's high tech. An MRI machine, that's high tech. A laptop, high tech. Toaster, not so much. How about this? I have a toaster oven. It's called the June, that has built into it Android operating system, a camera, and an internet connection. Is that high tech? It's a toaster oven. Still, basically, the function is a toaster oven, but it's an internet connected toaster oven. They've just launched the second generation of that. I'll tell you what high tech is. Expensive. That's what I figured it out. If it's expensive, it's high tech. Because that June oven, when I first bought it a year ago, and by the way, I love it. When I first bought it a year ago, it was $1,400. Now they've announced the second generation, which is, I would guess, in many ways better. $600. Still a lot for a toaster oven, but it has a camera in it and all that stuff. Actually, it's kind of interesting. My wife was complaining something's wrong with the toaster oven. Boy, you don't hear that much. Because it has this thing in it where it identifies what you're putting in there, and it thinks everything is an onion or a Brussels sprout. So when I first got it, you'd put a piece of bread in there and it'd say, oh, it's toast. That's actually pretty cool, isn't it? It had a camera, not necessary, not maybe even useful, but cool. And the camera in it, it would look at the piece of bread and say, oh, you want to make toast? Sometimes it would think it was a toaster strudel. It's, a Pop-Tart. I guess that's what a toaster strudel is. I don't know. They can't say Pop-Tart. That's a trademark. I'm thinking that's what a toaster strudel is. Maybe I'm wrong. You can't say, oh, you want to make a Pop-Tart or toast. So it says a toaster strudel or toast. But then all of a sudden, like about 3 months ago, everything was a Brussels sprout or an onion. You put a piece of bread in there, it says, you want to make Brussels sprouts? No, I want a toast. And my wife said, you need to do something about the toaster oven. Because this is the interesting thing. She mocked me when I said we're going to get a $1,400 toaster oven that's connected to the internet that will recognize what you put in it and offer you recipes. Because if it's true, if you put Brussels sprouts in there, it'll roast them just right. It'll even say, drizzle a little oil on that. Make sure you put tin foil on the pan, and then it'll roast it to the exact degree of doneness. Perfect. And it has a camera, has a thermal probe. thermometer, I guess. A thermal probe that you could stick in, a piece of chicken or whatever, and it cooks it to just the right USDA recommended temperature. Honey, the toaster oven doesn't recognize bread anymore. Because mostly that's what we do in it. We toast stuff in it. It thinks it's an onion. And I was puzzling over it. I redid the firmware, rebooted it. Because it's a computer, right? It's not a toaster oven anymore. Rebooted my toaster oven. Still thought it would. Then I thought, oh, wait a minute. I reached inside. I cleaned the camera because there's a camera in it. And now it recognizes toast again. That's high tech, baby. Somebody in the chat room, Twisted Mystery, says, amortized over the life of the device, that's only $2 per slice of toast. Yeah, that's about right. 700 slices of toast. I don't know. On the one hand, you could say I have a problem. On the other hand, you could say I've always had a problem, but I've managed to make a career out of my problem. When I first started doing this, I first started writing for computer magazines in the late 70s. And it was for, I knew exactly why I was doing it, to get free stuff. I said, I want to have, this stuff's expensive, and it was really expensive. You think a $1,400 toaster oven's expensive. No. How about a $1,400 floppy drive for my Atari 800? So I knew I needed to support the habit. So I said, well, how am I gonna, if I love, that was the real eye-opener here in the late 70s even. I love this stuff. I always want to have the latest. Whatever it is, I want to have the latest. How can I do that? I thought in my little young man brain. Oh, if I work as a reviewer in the industry, if I cover the industry, maybe I can get some stuff for free, or at least subsidize my interest. And it worked. It did. Except now here I am, 40 years later. I have to buy $1,400 toaster ovens because nobody will send you for free a $1,400 toaster oven. No, you got to buy that. And I'm getting ready. Actually, really, why my thoughts are going this way is I'm gearing up because next month is going to be a most expensive month. Apple alone, already we got $1,000 Samsung Galaxy Note 9, right? Already. Now, next month, we're going to have, who knows what the new iPhone's going to cost. $1,200, $1,500. The sky's the limit. It's an iPhone. People will pay anything. So I got to get that. New iPads. Oh, yeah. There's another thou down the drain. New Mac Minis. Really? Yeah. And they're not just everyday Mac Minis. They're professional. That's the rumor. They're going to be high-end. Oh, you know what that means? Expensive. High-tech means expensive. That's what it means. I've concluded. But I do it for you. I just hope you understand that. I spend thousands of dollars on Apple gear every September just so I can talk to you and tell you whether you should spend that money. Isn't that nice of me? Aren't I generous? Aren't I a nice person? I prefer to think of it that way. That's instead of just, a nut spending ridiculous amounts of money on high tech. Which, by the way, maybe that's the definition of high tech. That 2 years later, it's worthless. It's useless. That was high tech in 2016. 8888 Ask Leo. Let's talk high tech. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. I'd love to hear from you. If you're outside that area, you still can call. Just use Skype out. That's high tech. Using the internet to make a phone call. No, see, now that doesn't feel high tech anymore, does it? That's commonplace. That's called telephony. Use your low-tech telephony and reach us because it's a toll-free number. Shouldn't cost you anything anywhere in the world. We also have a website where I don't do anything, but my people, my peeps, Josh Windish, and the fabulous James Deruvo, he's writing right now. He's pretending what I'm saying is important, writing it down. He's going to put it up there on the website after the fact. We put audio and video, and it's free. We don't charge anything. We just give it to you. Isn't that nice? It's called techguylabs.com. Make a note of that, because if you hear something you want to know more about, or you want a link or something, don't write it down. You don't need to. It's all there. techguylabs.com. Now, let's see here. I'm gonna get Kim Schaffer answer. Oh yeah, she's already done. We're gonna get some calls on the line. We'll talk to you in just a minute. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, getting jiggy with it. The good old days when rap was young and life was easy. Hello,
good morning.
Kim Schaffer, bopping along. I'm
adopting your no diet attitude.
Yeah, so I was talking off the air because I'm going on vacation.
Yeah.
That here I am 3 days from vacation. I might as well have a lunch today, right? Why deprive myself?
You've inspired me, because while you're gone,
yeah,
I am going away as well, because I never get a weekend off. So
you're going to get 2 in a row.
I get 2 in a row. So I am going to the Minnesota State Fair.
Oh, that's where you get deep fried Twinkies.
So I'm going to eat deep fried everything.
Deep fried Oreos.
So why start the diet today?
Oh, man.
It makes no sense.
So tell me, is there family back there, or what's...
No, a really good friend of mine is from there originally. She lives here now, and she goes every year, and it's something I've always wanted to do. It's been on my bucket list, because she says how much fun she has. And
really,
it just so turned out that this year she's going while you're gone. So I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going.
We do have state fairs here in California.
But I just don't know that I don't think they compare.
It's like saying we have malls in California.
Right. They have the Mall of
America.
Yeah.
We have fairs out here, but they have the Minnesota State Fair.
Everything. They should be Texas. Everything's big in Minnesota.
What are you most looking forward to eating?
There is a woman, I think her name's Martha, Sweet Martha's Cookies. She does the 12 days of the fair, and that's all she does all year round. And
wow,
that's all the business she needs. She makes like $2 to $4 million over those days.
It's legendary.
Yeah, Sweet Martha's Cookies are legendary.
She makes millions of dollars?
She makes millions of dollars in those 12 days or 14 days or whatever it is, and she does not have to work again. It's great.
Now, do you think you can get the recipe for Sweet Martha's Cookies?
Probably not.
While you're out there? $4 million. I'm looking at the Star Tribune. $4 million.
I'm not making it up.
In 12 days.
Yep.
Well, gosh, if I could make $4 million in 12 days, I wouldn't work the rest of the year either.
So how much is a tub of cookies? Does it say? Is it like $10?
She produces 3 million cookies, so they're more than $1 each.
No. Well, they're little cookies, and they're by the bucket, and there's like dozens of cookies in that bucket.
You know, the runner-up there.
The runner-up at the fair?
Yeah, all you can drink milk.
Oh.
It makes $1 million in 12 days.
Well, you need the milk with the cookies, I guess.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Come to think of it.
I guess she sells milk now. That's what I've been
they're
told.
chocolate chip cookies. Launched in 1979 in a 9 by 11-foot booth.
Yeah.
3 booths produce up to 3 million cookies a day.
Yeah, a day.
200,000 cookies an hour. 54 tons of chocolate chips, 62 tons of flour, and 42,000 dozen eggs.
And there's also a video online somewhere of it too, but you're reading the article. It's amazing. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm like, do these cookies live up to the hype?
Sweet Martha. Sweet Martha.
I probably won't do the fried butter on a stick, though. That just sounds.
They do have that,
and they've got walleye on a stick.
Walleye salmon.
Walleye, the fish, fried walleye.
Do they? They have butter sculpting contests, I hear.
They do. Butter princesses, butter women, butter
women. And that's 2 of my favorite things in one. A butter woman.
All right.
So let's change the subject now.
Just derailed that.
You've got calls. I see them.
Yeah, so how about Neil in Phoenix going back to yesterday? He might have a suggestion on how to split that work-home internet connection deal that guy was having.
Whatever
that was. Yeah,
thank you, Kim. Hello, Neil in Phoenix. Welcome. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Afternoon, Leo. Have a great vacation, by the way, before I get to it. Thanks for taking my call.
And I want to reassure everyone that we will have new shows for the next a couple of weekends. We recorded ahead. Nobody heard. It was in secret. So there's all fresh shows. And then the wonderful Rich DeMuro takes over for the following 2 weekends. He's from KTLA, and you've heard him before on the show. He's great. He is much better looking as well, which is important on radio. What can I do for you today?
Yesterday. Well, a couple things. First off, I do have a suggestion for yesterday's caller.
Okay.
And that was, I did work at home myself for about 3 years. I worked for an insurance company at the time.
Oh, okay. Let me set this up. This is the guy now I know who you're talking about, who works at home as an IT specialist, has a computer provided by work, and he pays for the internet access, but the computer provided by work VPNs into the office, and the company has told him that we will monitor all your activity on this computer, and that's quite reasonable. Companies have the right to do that. He's concerned, though, that because he has one of their computers inside his home network, they might monitor his other activities. So what do you suggest?
Well, what I did, now, at least my company paid their portion to be paid.
Yeah, I know. They should pay for the internet access, but, you know,
right.
You got to get it. You got to get work, whatever you can do to, you know.
Right. So I don't know what his company's philosophy on that is, but what they did, or my company, in fact, insisted on this arrangement. What they did is I have Cox Cable here in Phoenix. So what I ended up doing was to simply have Cox bring in a second line. Now, I suspect it's the same coax, but they put a splitter on that.
Yes,
line.
exactly. It's you're on the same coax as your neighbors. Everybody in the neighborhood is on the same cable, but they could still isolate it through the cable modem. So that's exactly right. So it would be a different connection, and work wouldn't have access to that second connection.
Right. So I just split it off. I had one cable modem that was just for work, and I had a separate one just for myself, and all were happy. So it was really very simple to set that up, assuming that you can get that you can pay for that, and assuming that the company can provide it. But there's no reason to think that Comcast can't provide that split connection.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to pay for it. I have the same situation at home. And from Comcast, I have a Comcast Business Class in my home office. That's a work expense, and to separate that from the home expense, we have Comcast at home. Oh, I just have 2 connections, and of course you pay for it a lot. I don't like seeing my cable bill every month.
Maybe his company would pay for their portion.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fair and generous? I didn't get the sense that they were quite that company, but I appreciate it. Did you have a question too?
One quick one for you. I have my iPhone and I have my AirPods, and I've been using them. I'm using them right now, but I've noticed that the AirPods connectivity seems to be flaky, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, that's welcome to Bluetooth. Apple said they were going to improve. Apple said they were going to improve it with this W1 chip that they put in them, but I find them drop out a lot. You know what? I'm almost certain there'll be an AirPods 2 next month because the AirPods now are on deep discount on Amazon and other places. That tells me Apple's got something coming up. It might be something to look at. Bluetooth is bad. That's why I'm so mad they took the headphone jack out. It's very annoying. Johnny Jet coming up, Travel Guru, right after this. Johnny Jet.
Leo Laporte, how you doing?
I am well, man. 3 weeks in a row you've been home.
Well, I got in at midnight last night.
Oh, from?
That's why I didn't call yesterday, because I was traveling. I was in Florida.
Oh, visiting Dad?
Yeah, I also took a spin on the new Embraer E190-E2 with its shark livery. So if you check out my Instagram, you'll see some cool shark plane photos.
Nice.
It was like Shark Week all over again.
I would check your Instagram, but I've actually killed my account.
What?
I'm so sick of social media. I killed Facebook. I killed Instagram. Killed them dead. And I put Twitter on private because I don't like social. I realized what has it done for me lately? Nothing. The only thing the thing I'm going to miss the most is your pictures. But this is why I want to encourage you and everyone else to not assume that social media is the best way to get your stuff across. Do that, but put it also on your homepage. That's what you got a page for.
Well, that's definitely the best spot. I
Right.
mean, obviously for everybody because you get traffic.
And you own it.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So do you put do these pictures of the, oh yeah, are they on here,
I
the
do.
Embraer?
They are, actually.
All right. See, that's the place to go, johnnyjet.com.
Actually, I gotta see if it's on the homepage, though. I haven't.
Yeah, I don't see it. Checking.
type
Oh yeah, it
in-
is. Checking out Embraer's new Shark plane. What? Now is that livery going to be standard?
No, I don't. No, it won't be. It depends on the airline. So the Embraer is the same as Boeing or Airbus.
Yeah, I ride a lot of those for the commuter jets. Right, there are a lot of them are Embraer.
They are. They're 2-2 configuration, which people love, but people don't realize. And I learned that this week. 1 out of 3 jets or planes flying into LaGuardia and Washington National, DCA, is an Embraer.
Wow.
Yeah,
and they're mostly short. They're mostly short hop, right?
For sure. These planes usually.
So I get the Shark livery. It says Profit Hunter. So this is really they're selling it to airlines.
That's what they're doing. Yeah. So they brought in a bunch of aviation journalists and they took us for a spin. We were supposed to have lunch at Key West.
This is not. Oh, you're in Key West.
We actually just flew over it. We were supposed to. Originally, we were going to have lunch.
Flew over Key West. That does not count.
I know. I was like, let's go to
Here,
Cuba.
have a conch fritter. We're flying over Key West.
I tried to get them to go to Cuba, but they wouldn't do it.
Nice laughs. I like it. They take a picture of the laugh. For a commuter jet, that's a nice laugh.
Without a doubt. It's all touchless, which I love.
Oh, I really do like that.
Because the 787 has that as well.
Yeah,
so
you don't
want to
touch this stuff. No. You don't know who's been in there. Look at that. That's beautiful. This is why I want to move to Key West. Look at that.
Yeah.
That ocean. Oh, it's blue. So you flew out and back, basically.
It was a 49-minute flight. We went to Fort Lauderdale to their headquarters, had a meeting. They put us on the plane, took a tour.
Nice.
Came back, had lunch with the executives, and then I went and saw my dad.
You got a good life, man. You got good stuff, man. So we're flying Air France.
Are you in first class?
Business.
Okay, because their first class is considered
really
top 3 in the world.
Oh, I wonder if I can get bumped up. I can't afford. I can barely afford. Business is so expensive, but I only do it on the long hauls because it's just otherwise it's painful. But I think this may be our last. I can't afford it. It's too expensive.
First class is $22,000 L.A. Paris round trip.
Yeah, it's for people who don't want to take the private jet. Like, I don't want to do the private jet. Let's just take Air France at first class. Hold on a second. Here we go.
All right.
This is too much trouble to fuel it up. We'll just hop that Air France. That's a house. You could buy a house for that in Indianapolis. Listen. He's been everywhere, man. He is the traveling guy, Johnny Jet. He joins us each week, usually on Saturday, but he was traveling. What a thought yesterday. He joins us to help us travel better with technology. Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Leo.
Where were you?
I just got back from Florida last night at midnight. My American Airlines plane was delayed 3.5 hours because the plane that we were originally supposed to take was struck by lightning. And when it was landing in Miami, there was bad thunderstorms yesterday. And so I didn't realize once a plane gets struck by lightning, they have to take it out of service for a few days and check everything, all the electronics. So fortunately, we were in one of American's hubs, and they swapped out our 777-200 with another one, which I was
thank goodness
pleasantly surprised because I was upgraded a few days ago, and that's the lie flat seat, and you can't beat that. So I was happy. I thought I was definitely going to be in coach on a different plane, but nope, I got to sit up front. So, but actually, it brings up a good point. Of course, the one time I want the plane to be on time, it's delayed. Because a lot of times I buy this flight, and I don't end up making it.
Yeah.
And so instead of canceling it and losing the money I paid, which is usually around $170 one way for coach.
Yikes.
Which is great. I mean, that's a good price to fly across country.
Yeah.
But Think about what a taxi would cost. Just to, my ride.
I mean, a taxi cab across the country?
Yeah, well, just think of my ride from Boynton Beach, Delray Beach to the airport costs more than that.
Dude, you got to do Uber. Uber across country is like $43. It's nothing.
Anyway, so what you do, my point is, instead of canceling your flight, because the change fee is $200, so it's not worth even calling up the airline if it's under that.
Yeah.
So you wait and see if it's delayed or canceled, and then you call them up at the last minute and say, listen, your flight's delayed and canceled. I can't make it. Can you give me a refund? And they'll do it if it's more than an hour.
This you told me before, and this is great. In fact, sometimes it's worth just waiting up to the last possible minute in case it's delayed.
Correct. And in commercial, I was telling you about the Embraer jet. I was down in Florida to check out the Embraer's new E190-2, which is really going to be a sweet regional jet. They're all 2-2, which most customers like because there's no dreaded middle seat. But anyway, when I landed from our little, fun flight around Key West, I got a notice that my original flight, I was supposed to be in Puerto Rico, and my flight got delayed. So I called American up right away, and I got full refund for that flight. So I was like,
very nice.
You got to love it. So
very nice.
Always, that's a great way to save money and not give it to the airlines who really don't need it right now. So speaking of my airport ride, so I always used to take Uber. Actually, in South Florida, sometimes I take Tri-Rail, which is $6. But the older I get, I realize that my time is more precious, and taking Uber or Lyft, sometimes can be aggravating.
I love it. Really?
It tells you 6 minutes, and all of a sudden you're waiting 15 minutes later. It's like,
well, that's no good. Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah.
I mean, how often does that happen to you? Or when you're at the airport?
To be honest with you, never. But okay,
Really?
maybe they see. Oh, it's Johnny. Let's.
No. I mean, they do that to me all the time, including last night when I landed at LAX. It said 6 minutes, and I was there for 15.
Oh, that's frustrating. So what do you do?
Or when you open up a trunk to the car, and they have half the stuff is already taken with their stuff, like their day job or whatever. And it's like you're picking me up at the airport, and there's no room. Anyway, Blacklane. Have you heard of Blacklane?
No. What's this?
So it's a car service that is really starting to gain a lot of traction. Actually, my driver yesterday lives in Miami. Picks you up in a nice fat Escalade, clean water, charger. He said most of his rides now are all from Blacklane. So
now, is it a lot more? It must be more expensive. It's a limousine.
Way more expensive than Uber. So this is about 2 to 3 times more.
Well, you'd expect it to be 2 to 3 times better then. Yeah, all right, okay.
And it is. These guys are all, they're dressed to the T.
It's a limo service, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you can order it on your phone. You can order it on the website. And
I'm adding this to my phone. This is great.
And they do it all around the world.
Where is it?
They're based in Germany, but they've been around for I think 8 years. But they're really just starting now to gain a lot of traction. I tried them a few years ago, and they were great.
So they're in 300 cities worldwide, but London, Berlin, places like that, but also L.A. and New York in the U.S. So that's good.
Yeah, and full disclosure, they gave me some rides to check them out and feel them out. And I was like, it really is amazing. The drivers show up early, so you're not sitting around. They're waiting for you instead of you waiting for them.
Black car service is nice. You're talking limousine service, and there's locals you can use too. It's nice to have an app, I guess.
It is, but I was going from.
Do they wait for you with the little card that says Mr. Jet?
Yeah. Yes, I just posted a photo and
Mr. Jet, we're waiting for you, Mr. Jet.
They had my real name on there, which I don't like. I gotta get them to change.
Tell them it's Jet.
Yeah, it'd be great advertising. I'm just gonna say JohnnyJet.com for the iPad that they hold up.
So you get the app Blacklane, and if you want to read up more about it, it's blacklane.com on the internet.
It's obviously way more expensive than ride sharing, but it's if time is money to you, and especially if you're a business traveler, you don't want to mess around with taking a ride share. And this is the way to go.
Do you do this? We do the calculus when we're going on a long trip. We figure out how much parking would cost. And then that's my budget for car service. Because if car service is going to cost less than parking, take a car service.
Some hotels charge $70 a night to park. New York City, Boston.
Yeah, exactly.
I rarely ever rent a car because of that. Especially if there are cities that are, has great transportation like Boston and New York and Chicago, San Francisco, another place that has huge parking fees.
What did we do before we had smartphones? I mean, this has really transformed how we travel, hasn't it? I mean, it's amazing.
It sure has.
Blacklane. I'm adding it to my phone right now.
Okay, and I have another website, but I just checked it out, and the website's down, so I'm reluctant to share it.
Oh.
So I'll have to do it another time, but I have a backup. So speaking of American Airlines, so a lot of people always ask me, I have so many miles, but I'll go anywhere. Just, some of the places I want to go aren't available mileage-wise. So American, unlike the others, have a really cool award map. And so if you just go into Google, type in American Airlines award map, you can type in how many miles you want to use, where you're departing from, the dates, and it will show a calendar, or they'll show a map, a worldwide map, where what's available for those dates. So that way you can go anywhere, wherever you really want, and without spending hours of trying to go, all right, I want to go San Francisco to New York or San Francisco to Florida. That will tell you, well, you can go
plan a trip based on your miles. Yeah, that's a good idea. Very good.
So I wish the other ones would do that as well.
Yeah, make it easy. They don't want to make it easy. They really don't.
They don't make it easy for the miles. And if you're using your miles, by the way, the best is last minute, because that's when they open up the awards.
Perfect, Johnny. JohnnyJet.com. That's his website. Go there. You can see everything he talks about, including his most recent flight on that new Embraer jet plane with the shark livery. Wow. You can also follow him on Twitter at JohnnyJet and on Instagram, too. I'm a little distracted because we're just getting news from the sheriff's office in Jacksonville Landing, Jacksonville, Florida. There was a video game tournament going on there, and apparently a gunman opened fire. It was the Madden NFL video game tournament in Jacksonville, Florida. And the sheriff's there saying, stay away from the area. Please, stay away from the area. So I want to repeat that because I know we have listeners in that area. And I'm sure your local news will cover it in a few minutes. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I tell you, sad, sad day. Again, more of your calls coming up right after this.
What is going on?
Isn't that sad? Mass, we don't know anything else about it. Gunman opened fire during the Madden NFL video game tournament in Jacksonville. We have an affiliate in Jacksonville, so that's why I mentioned it. Yeah.
I am really sorry.
Yeah. Thank you, John.
All right.
Are you going somewhere this week? Oh, yeah. I will talk to you again after the show, 2 p.m.
So 2 p.m. Am I doing 1 or 2?
I think you're doing 2. Because then Rich is going to be on, and we don't. Yeah, 2, if you would.
Okay. I need to get
Get some content, man.
Yeah. I need to get some content.
Thanks, Johnny. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
All right, take care. Tech Eye Show today brought to you by Qualcomm. Kind of interesting. We don't usually have sponsors that are at the deep roots of the technology we use every day, but I'm always happy to do an ad for Qualcomm. I use Qualcomm processors all the time. Like the Qualcomm Snapdragon. You hear us often when we're talking about Android phones saying, oh, yeah, this is the latest Snapdragon, the 845. Here's a question for you. Easy one, I think. Do you want faster data speeds on your phone? You do? Oh, of course you do. Everyone wants more speed because who wants to wait? Wait in line, waiting for data, waiting to download that song or watch that stream. Well, you need the right phone, and I have numbers to prove it. Ookla, you know the name Ookla. They do speedtest.net, and they have a speed test app that's on many, many phones. They analyzed over 1 million results from the speed test app for users on AT&T and T-Mobile in the second quarter of this year, Q2. More than 1 million real-world results. Android phones with Snapdragon 845 from Qualcomm Technologies had up to 192% faster data speeds than non-Android phones with Intel modems. You know what I'm talking about, right? 192%. That's the Snapdragon 845. And man, that is a mobile platform. It's more than just a system on a chip. This thing is engineered with features that let you do even more with your phone. AR and VR, you bet. The third generation Qualcomm Hexagon 685 DSP supports the most sophisticated on-device AI processing, delivering. Well, it's one of the reasons your Android phone has that great camera, right? It's the back end. It's not the lens. It's the back end, the processing from that Hexagon 685. Great voice activation, and of course, VR and AR and gaming experiences. Plus, they have the new Qualcomm Secure Processing Unit. I don't know if people are aware of this. It's engineered to help protect personal data. So, for instance, when you give it a fingerprint or an iris scan, as you may on many of these phones, it's stored in isolation, vault-like security, which keeps it away from bad guys. And, of course, the Qualcomm 845 is known for its energy efficiency, engineered for all-day battery life. And that Qualcomm Quick Charge 3.0 gives you 50% charge in only 15 minutes. I think it's a win all around. Check out all the data for yourself at qualcomm.com/twit, Qualcomm, QUALCOMM.com/twit. And then when it comes time to buy a new phone, upgrade your data speeds with a phone powered by Snapdragon 845. There's some really good ones coming out now. Qualcomm.com/twit. We thank Qualcomm and the Snapdragon for making the Twit podcast possible, and in particular this one, the Tech Guy Show. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, 8888 Ask Leo. Once again, if you're in Jacksonville, stay away from Jacksonville Landing. Video game tournament, mass shooting, ongoing. No details yet. Stay away. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. On we go with the show. Larry in Prescott, Arizona. Hello, Larry.
Hey, Leo. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I want to set this up a little bit. There's an app for the vision impaired called Be My Eyes.
Oh, I know. I love this app. I love this app.
It's a great app,
Yeah.
and it really does help a lot of people. I'm looking for a camera that will connect to the iPhone by Bluetooth to give you real-time video that will stream live so that you can use Be My Eyes hands-free.
What a great idea.
Any suggestions?
There is no such thing, unfortunately. Well, wait a minute. Now let me step back a little bit. Why are you not using the iPhone camera?
Well, you can use the iPhone, but sometimes it's hard to focus it. And if you had the camera, you can clip on a pair of glasses. You know where that camera is,
Yeah.
so you could use it without holding the iPhone.
Okay. So I take it back. There are cameras that will do this. They don't do Bluetooth, though. They use Wi-Fi. Bluetooth's not fast enough to stream video.
Okay.
So these all use Wi-Fi. Actually, almost any these days higher-end still camera will do this. I have Canons, Sonys, Panasonics. All of them have built-in Wi-Fi. So this is the first prerequisite. You're going to look for a camera with built-in Wi-Fi. And then they have apps that you can run on the iPhone that will let you capture the video coming out of the camera. You don't even have to be recording it on the camera. It just shows you. And the point is for still photographers, you can put the camera somewhere and then remotely control it from the iPhone. So almost a lot of cameras will do that. Now, I don't know how well it would work with Be My Eyes. You'd have access to that camera, but then how are you going to get it to Be My Eyes? That's another one.
Right. It would have to stream.
Well, Be My Eyes.
It would have to stream so that they could see
Stream to
what the camera's looking.
to Be My Eyes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So that's the problem is that, and this is really a limitation on all iPhone apps. One app can't do that to another app in real time. You can't have the two apps talking to one another in real time. You could share a still. Actually, that's how Be My Eyes works, right? You share a still over to it, or you take a picture and you share it. But
no, actually, they're getting the live stream from the camera.
From the camera, right?
Yeah.
But they can't get it from another source. I don't believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's really a limitation of the iPhone, and Apple does it for security because they don't want one app to interfere or hack another app.
And I have a question on one of your sponsors.
Yes, sir.
Remote PC. Will it work with a screen reader?
That I don't know. You have to call them. I have never tried it. That's a very good question. I don't see why.
Most of these remote programs will feed the image as a bitmap image, and so screen readers can't read that.
Right. It's not the same thing as the screen on your local desktop. It's an image. Yeah. So I don't know. That's going to require a question, an email to them and say, hey, do you work with a screen reader? You're right. Most remote access products don't. And that's just the nature of the way a remote access product works. You're interacting with that computer remotely, and all you're getting back from it's like a video. It's like a stream. Otherwise, if you think about it, that would be a prohibitive in terms of bandwidth for you to be interacting with the remote computer on your computer, which is really what you want if you want a screen reader to do it. My guess is they don't. I don't know off the top of my head, but my guess is they don't. Now, look at this. Scooter X, you rock. Our chat room moderator, one of our moderators, Scooter X, has a video. We'll post this in the show notes. It's from the Tech Accessibility Tutorials channel on YouTube, how to remotely access others' PCs with a screen reader. This uses NVDA, which, as you know, is an open source screen reader. So it has, this is good. So I get the idea here. It depends on the screen reader. If you have a screen reader that does this, and NVDA does, you put the remote on the remote computer. So in the same way that you're using a remote access program like Remote PC, in order to use Remote PC, you have it running on your computer and the remote computer. And that's what's doing the communication. You would have the NVDA program also running on the remote computer, a special version of it, that then communicates back to your NVDA with the screen reading information. I wonder if JAWS or others might not also do that, if NVDA does it. You can find out more about that at nvdaremote.com. That's their remote add-on. What a good, clever, of course, that's how you do it. Clever idea. Line 1, Jim, San Diego. Speaking of backup, hi, Jim. Oh, there you are. Hi, Jim.
Hi, Leo. How you doing?
I'm great. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much for taking my call. I really love your show. Hey, those chocolate chip cookies, though, that Kim was mentioning at the fair, those sound good.
Oh, Martha's. I want some. Maybe I should have asked. Maybe she'll bring some back.
Oh, that'd be great.
Ooh, we could share them with everyone.
Yeah, I'll bring the milk.
Good.
Say, I have a real problem here trying to back up some files. I was hoping you could assist me, sir. What the problem is this. Trying to back them up to a thumb drive, and what happens is there are some files that I have which they have a very long name. They're a WAV file, and I try to put a little bit about what is in that WAV file in the name when I can. And some of them, I guess, go past a certain limit because what happens when I copy it over to the flash drive, and basically I'm not sure how it even gets on there, to be honest with you, because if I try to copy just that file alone, it'll come back and say you can't do it.
Are you using a special program to do it?
No, sir. I'm just
you're dragging it over
from one computer to the flash drive, and the name when it gets over there though drops down to the 8.3 format. Okay,
so this all has to do with how the thumb drive is formatted. So the old formats, FAT16 and FAT32, 8.3 file names also had limits on the size of files, big limits. You need to just take that thumb drive and reformat it, copy everything off of it if you don't have copies, reformat it NTFS. That's the modern file system for Windows. It'll allow all the long file names, and more importantly, I think for you, it'll allow larger files. You're certainly limited to 2 gigabytes with FAT32, and maybe even, it sounds like if it's 8.3 naming, it's even worse. So that's all it is. It's the format, the file system that's on that thumb drive. Change it to NTFS, the modern file system. You could do that in Windows with the format command, and all will be well. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater. What else? Digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is my phone number. 8888, cup of coffee there. 8888 Ask Leo. If you have a question, a comment, or a suggestion, the website, techguylabs.com. And on the line right now, it's Ed in Lisle, Illinois. Hello, Ed.
Yeah, how are you doing this beautiful day?
I am well. How are you?
Almost.
Almost? Halfway there?
Yeah, halfway there, and I'm still working on it.
Okay, good man.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I want to get rid of that Gmail. What's another outfit I can get emails, even if it costs me a couple of dollars?
Yeah, I don't use Gmail myself. Did for years. I remember when Gmail first came out more than a dozen years ago, people were selling the invitation on eBay. Everybody wanted the new mail from Google. And the thing that was cool about Gmail is that it was web mail. In fact, it was, for many people, the first web application they ever used. You didn't use your email client. You didn't need it. You just open the browser, go to gmail.com, and there's your mail. Do you want to keep doing that? Do you like webmail, or do you want to do you use like a mail client, like Outlook?
I used to use Thunderbird, so I switched over to them because they changed ISPs.
All right, so
I still have the Thunderbird.
All right,
set up as a POP 3.
What I would suggest doing is finding an IMAP server. It's the more modern than POP 3. I'll tell you what I use. It's not free, though. It's a company called Fastmail at fastmail.com. They're an Australian company. I consider it as what I replaced Gmail with. I used Gmail for a long time only for its spam filtering, because it had really good spam filtering. But everybody's got good spam filtering now. So Fastmail is IMAP. It has a web-based interface, but you could use Thunderbird with it. The advantage of IMAP is you can use multiple devices to access the same mail store. You don't have to, leave on server and download it somewhere else like you do with POP 3. It's just the idea is the IMAP server is the official version of what's in your mail. And then any client you use or the web interface is just a window onto that. And I think that's a better way to do Gmail. Email.
I like the POP mail. It goes onto my computer, and that's the only copy.
Yeah, if you don't want it to live on somebody else's server, I guess that's fine. And you can, most companies will still allow you to use POP, but that's dying. It really is. In the long run, I guess if you only have one device, you don't use a smartphone or any other computers, huh?
No, all I have is I use the email on his one laptop.
I wonder if there's anybody who specializes in POP mail. Almost all of these companies now are prefer and use IMAP, which is funny because it does cost them more. They have to store your email. Who's a good POP mail provider these days? I have no idea. I think I would still recommend Fastmail. You can have Fastmail probably use POP mail and have them delete the mail as you download it. That's a really interesting question. If you go, otherwise when people say what should I use instead of Gmail, I might mention other free mail services like Yahoo Mail, or frankly, I think Microsoft's Outlook.com is very good. But all of those continue to store your mail on their servers. You don't want that. Is it for privacy reason?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you've got an interesting question. What is a good email server that doesn't store your mail? Now, there's also stuff like Proton Mail, which is encrypted email. So it's very private. If you go to Proton Mail, you'll see that even though it is also an IMAP server, almost everybody's going to be these days, it's encrypted, so they can't read it. So if privacy is what you're looking at, I think Proton Mail is another very good choice. It'll work fine with Thunderbird. They have mobile apps on iOS and Android. They have a web interface just like Gmail does. But the difference is it's end-to-end encrypted using PGP encryption. So the mail is completely private. They can't read the mail for advertising purposes. Nobody else can get to your mail. Proton Mail very famously says, we store all your mail inside the mountain in Switzerland where we're located. I don't know if that makes it better that it's in it says, Proton Mail's infrastructure resides in Europe's most secure data center underneath 1,000 meters of solid rock. If it's connected to the internet, it doesn't matter where it is. It's still, out there. But end-to-end encryption is key, and they don't have access. They have what they call zero access to user data. So, and this has a free tier. It also has a paid tier. If privacy is your focus, then I'm going to say Proton Mail. PROTONMAIL.com. And they really, the company was founded first and foremost for privacy. That's why they're in the mountain. I think that's a pretty clear recommendation. For the rest of us, I like having IMAP because that way, because most people do have more than one computer. They have phones, they have tablets, they have, they want to look at their mail from different places. It doesn't make sense to use this old post office protocol or POP protocol and then leave the mail on the server. That's the reason POP was so popular. In the early days, hardware storage was expensive. Your internet service provider didn't want to keep your mail. It was more like the post office. You go and you get your mail and you take it home. They didn't want to store it for you. But really now, hard drive storage is so cheap, so easy, and it's such a convenience to have your mail stored there for you to access it wherever you are. And when you send a message, it goes into the sent box and everybody sees it. When you delete a message, it's deleted everywhere. So it's it's a nice system. I use IMAP on Fastmail, and I really like Fastmail. But I understand you don't want anybody to see your mail, then use ProtonMail. You get the benefits of an IMAP service, but the privacy of a POP service. How about that? How about that? I don't know if anybody has just POP mail. I think almost everybody now is IMAP based. And that's the big difference. IMAP stores your data in the cloud for you. There's something called free pops. No, but that's not going to do it. That's I think that's a mail server. You don't want to run your own mail server. Yeah, Proton Mail. That's a simple solution. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. If you have a question, a comment, or suggestion, if you've got a better way to do email, that's cool too. I'd love to hear from you. 888-827-5536. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Go to line 2 now. Dr. Mom. Hey, Dr. Mom.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
Long Island. I'm well. How are you?
I'm fine. And it may not be Long Island much more, which is why I'm calling.
Where are you going?
Well, we got a grandchild on the West Coast, and at this point I'm starting to spend about a week and a half or more a month out in San Diego with baby.
Wow. Yeah, San Diego's a beautiful area. You think about moving out there?
Thinking about it, but right now, my kids set up a room in their house, said, this is your room. I don't know how long this is going to last for.
Isn't that sweet?
But what I want to do is, we have obviously a lot of technology, computers and NAS and such here. And as we're thinking about moving, besides having a good backup, what's the safest way to transport things like a NAS and a desktop computer and stuff cross-country?
Oh, that's an interesting question. The good news is most hard drives, and I presume in your NAS you don't have solid-state drives. You probably have spinning drives.
Iron Wolf.
Yeah, it's too expensive to put solid-state drives in NASs, and you don't need that kind of performance for something that's over the network. That's what NAS stands for, network-attached storage. So if it were solid-state, I'd say, well, there's nothing special to do at all. But with spinning drives, probably the best thing to do would remember that the good news about spinning drives is when they're powered down, the heads are parked. They retract to a safe place on the disk. What I would do is I would actually yank them out of the, well, not yank, gently remove them from the network-attached storage, wrap them in bubble wrap, and pack them. And that should be, I mean, that's as good as you're going to get. Remember, that was shipped to you, from China when they made the drive. So with the head parked, you're probably fine. You want to avoid, any extremes of G-forces because that could maybe torque it a little bit. But I think you're fine if you bubble wrap it. Now, what else did you want to bring besides the NAS?
Well, we've got a NAS. We've got 2 desktop computers. One's an iMac. One's actually a PC with a tower and such. I mean, then the question is, do I put it on a moving truck or do I put it on the airplane with me?
Well, I wouldn't put it on the airplane. That's a lot of weight. If you want to pack it in the moving truck, what you should do is drain all the oil out of the crankcase. You probably want to remove the tires and put it up on block. No, I'm sorry. That's the wrong show. You need to, I would say the same problem. It's moving parts that are at risk. Solid state's probably going to be okay if it's well packed, and bubble wrap will be your friend there, blankets, that kind of thing. And I would pull the drives out and wrap them separately, just so they don't clank around inside the case. Everything else is probably fine. The iMac is the challenge. You can't take the drive out of the iMac. The good news on the iMac is that's probably a solid-state drive, I would think, right?
No, it's an old one.
It's an old one. All right. Well, you're going to take your chances there. It's not in the least bit convenient to pull a hard drive out of the iMac. Just pack that up as well as you can. Actually, the big vulnerable part of an iMac is the screen. So make sure you've really protected that against any kind of knocks or dings, because that thing is glass. And, you know, just if you're moving, do what you would do when you're moving your paintings and your pictures, right? Same kind of thing. If you have the original packaging, of course, but who saves that? That's 5 years later, you still have the box? No.
No, of course not.
No. That would be the ideal, because obviously Apple has learned a thing or two. In fact, you notice when you get an iMac that the screen is, the way they package it, and they don't like to use styrofoam. They use cardboard inserts, but they package it in such a way that the screen is just sitting in space with about 3 or 4 inches of air around it. And that's probably the best thing, right? The box would have to be penetrated and something would have to stick right through it for 3 or 4 inches to even get close to the screen. So they don't try to put anything against the screen. They float it in the box. And then you want really strong cardboard around it. So are you actually thinking about moving, or you just want to move some stuff out there?
Well, we're thinking about moving. Actually, we're going out there for the holidays in September, and we're going to start looking at some houses and such. I mean,
wow, that's great. You'll be a little closer to us. I hope you'll come up and visit.
I mean, I got my Medicare card this month. My husband's ready to retire.
It's time to retire, Dr. Mom.
Well, listen, before I hang up, you got time for a quick plug?
Yeah.
Maker Faire, New York, 22nd, 23rd of September.
You going to be knitting?
You got it. Knitting, crochet, weaving, and needlework.
Oh, the textile queen. Maker Faire is the best place to go for seeing what people like Dr. Mom are doing with their hands, making all sorts of stuff. A lot of it's electronics, but as you can see, it's not always electronics. It can be textiles. My friend Bill Atkinson, I don't know if you saw our interview with him on Friday. He's, of course, the guy, one of the most important guys behind the Macintosh. He goes to Maker Faire. He uses his woodworking tools at home to make interlocking bricks, toys. They're really cool. You can build bridges and all sorts of stuff. It's not electronic. He's, of all people, he's a guy who could do electronics, but no, he does bricks. So there's all sorts of things. If you want to know more, go to Maker Faire. Fair's spelled with an E, old school, right? MakerFaire.com/new-York. It's coming up September 22nd and 23rd at the New York Hall of Science. And look for Dr. Mom. Is there some way we can identify you? Will you be wearing a big hat?
No, I don't wear a big hat. I'll be downstairs they put the, it's called the Textile National Needle Arts Association. We're going to be downstairs in the open area this year, and look for a bunch of people doing knitting, weaving. I'll tell you one thing. I use my 3D printer to make the parts for my looms and stuff.
You're kidding. That's cool.
No, I do something called card weaving, which is instead of having a big rig, you literally thread the yarns through things that look like small square cards with holes in them.
Nice.
And you can print those up on the 3D printer, and then that's all the equipment you need. It's perfect.
Very nice. What fun. All right.
Put the old and the new together.
Maker Faire, New York. I'm always glad to promote Maker Faire. And they're all over the country all the time. We went out to Detroit one year. They started here in the Bay Area with Make Magazine, and we still have one of the biggest in San Mateo every summer. It's really fun. A great thing for the family. Kids love Maker Faire.
And this year we've still got the life-size mousetrap game.
They do that. They do that everywhere. I think it's so funny because it's giant, and it ends up, if it's like the one out here, I bet it's the same one, crushing a car at the end.
Yep.
They drop a giant weight, it's like a Roadrunner cartoon. Drop a giant safe on a vehicle and squish it. It's very satisfying.
Have you seen the fountain made out of Mentos and Coca-Cola?
Yes. Always fun. It's all that stuff. Yeah, it's all that stuff.
Exactly.
Maker Faire Moscow is coming up next week. I mean, it's all over the world. This has become a movement. Trondheim and New York City. It's awesome. MakerFaire.com with an E. You can get the tickets. It isn't, unfortunately, I wish it were a little less expensive. It's not super expensive, but it's $40 or $50 at the door. for tickets, $40 in advance. So it's a little pricier than I'd like it to be, but believe me, it is worth it. And you get a weekend pass. Grown-ups are $70 in advance, kids $40 in advance, and that way you can go.
I get
all
in
3
free,
days.
and they actually feed me too. So it's
you get a deal because you got your looms and sewing machines and all that stuff. Great to talk to you, Dr. Mom. Congratulations. We're going to start calling you Dr. Grandma.
You got it.
Doc Grandma. She's in the chat room at Dr. Mom Grandma. And they're asking you, will you miss the snow, Dr. Mom Grandma?
Not when I have to shovel it.
Not one bit. I'll tell you what, I'm a refugee from the East Coast when I was in high school, and I never went back. I don't miss it at all. Thank you, Dr. Mom. Stop at the Minnesota State Fair on your way. You'll see Kim. She's leaving next week to go there and have the cookies. 8888 ask Leo, our photo guy, Chris Marquardt, coming up in just a little bit with some tips for getting the most from your camera, whether it's a camera phone or did you see the new Nikon mirrorless? Oh, I got to ask him about that too. What is it? The Z6 and 7? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More to come right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I hear Kodachrome. That can mean but one thing. Time for Chris Marquardt, the photo guy. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Chris leads expeditions all over the world to help you be a better photographer. He has the best photography podcasts in the world. The original tips from the top floor. Now you're doing one on the future of photography. What's the name of that one?
The Future of Photography.
Oh, what a good name.
It's the most basic name we could find. TheFutureOfPhotography.com.
I was once told the title should either be clever or say what the thing is. And I think it's good to say what the thing is. The future.
In this case, it is, and it's on every podcast client. If you have a podcast client, just type it into the search.
It's fascinating, really. It's great.
A relatively short show once a week, and we explore where photography will take us in the future. And there's always interesting developments these days with like computational photography or interesting new gadgets that are coming out. Gadgets that won't be that won't be useful for a while, but that might be interesting, or algorithms that do noise reduction that you haven't seen before. Very interesting ways to think about photography and what's going to come. And I do this because, and I don't do this alone. I do this with Adrian, with a friend, and we started to explore this because both Adrian and I are also kind of rooted in film-based photography, analog photography. So it is really kind of the trying to bridge both sides, the past and the future. And we're also both kind of nerds, so it's something that we could talk about forever.
All right, well, that's why you're on every week. I agree. I love it. And, I'm I guess best described as an avid amateur photographer. I love this stuff. So what are we doing today? More stuff I can buy.
Well, maybe, possibly. I do want to talk about a gadget, but this is an interesting lens. And you do own a macro lens. I know.
Do.
And
yeah. Tell people what a macro is.
A macro is a lens with a big magnification, and that lets you get very close into things. So if you want to take these pictures of bees or bugs or flowers very, very close up that are really big on the photo, that's a macro photo. And they are normally like focal length of 50 millimeters or maybe 100 millimeters. And they have a very narrow angle of view, so they show you very little. You know these photos that are very out of focus. Everything's out of focus apart from the thing you're looking at. So the background is all very creamy, out of focus. And the depth of field, that amount of focus in a picture, that depends on a few things. One is, of course, the distance. The closer you go, the less in focus you will have. Then there's the aperture, which is the hole in the lens, and the bigger that hole, the less focus you have in a photo. But then there's also the focal length. which is the millimeters on your lens. And again, there's 50 millimeter macro lens, there's 100 millimeters, there's stuff in between.
They tend to be longer. Mine is 85. Why is that? They tend to be so you can stand farther away from the bees?
You can stand a bit further away. Just imagine you're taking pictures of bees or bugs, things that might get afraid when you come close to them with this huge lens, and they might just flee. So the flight, we call it the flight distance.
Okay.
And if you but now there's a Kickstarter project. When this is released, it's probably already over. But it's a lens that is a macro lens, but at the same time it's a wide angle lens, which is very unusual. And not just that, it is also a lens that is what's called a probe lens.
It looks like proboscis. It looks like you're an anteater attached to your camera. It's this long rod.
Well, it has this long barrel. It's very thin. It's like 2 centimeters in diameter. It's less than an inch. The barrel is like 40 centimeters long. It's like 15 inches. It's waterproof, so you can poke it in liquids, and it has. Not just that, it's wide angle and it gives you more depth of field, more focus, but it has right in the front, around the very small lens in the front, it has a ring of LEDs. So it brings its own light with it, which is another problem that you sometimes have with macro photography. If you get really close in with that big lens, you're also casting a lot of shadow.
It's tricky. There's a lot of technical issues to macro photography.
Oh, yeah.
This you can actually do video with, which is kind of it. You could do a bug's life.
Well, it fits on your DSLR, on your Micro Four Thirds camera. It just kind of adapts.
Okay, I want to buy one. How much?
I have no idea. It's on Kickstarter.
It's the LAOWA. You can search for Laowa on Kickstarter. It's expensive. $1,400.
See, it's a very specialized thing. I have no intention of getting one.
No.
I have no intention of getting one. It is a very specialized lens, but you can do interesting shots. I mean, they have some examples there, like the camera goes into an open bottle.
Oh, that's cool.
Into the neck of a bottle, because it fits in there. So all of a sudden you can do a camera traveling to places that you usually cannot travel to with a camera, and it makes a very interesting kind of photography accessible. It's almost like, an endoscope where you can poke something into. Well,
I have one of those. You could put that on your smartphone. It's got a USB adapter, and
you can put it on a smartphone, and you can look in your. I
wouldn't recommend swallowing
engine.
it. Yeah, it's more for stuff like that. Yeah.
It's more like that, and this one is kind of similar, but it has decent image quality.
This is pretty cool. Is the image quality good? I guess it is.
Well, from what I've seen, I've just seen it in videos. It looks decent. I have certainly not looked at it in too much detail, but for what it's being used for, the things they show look fairly okay. So
really interesting.
Yeah, it will enable things that so far haven't really been possible, other than doing them in the computer in CGI, and now it's turning into something different.
LAOWA. A lot of point and shoots have macro settings. Is that the same thing?
Sure. Almost. So when we look at it, technically, real macro is if the thing in front of the camera has the same size on the sensor of the camera. So it's a 1:1 ratio, 1:1 ratio. Yeah. That's what we call real macro. This lens actually goes a 2:1. So what in front of the camera can be twice as big on the sensor.
So it's more like a microscope, really.
Right. And if you have a point and shoot or something, and it has a macro setting, usually they don't go that big. So macro is a very loosely used term here. Right. It just usually means, yes, you can get a bit closer and get a bit of a better magnification.
Wow. Oh, wow. Macro's fun to play with, though, and if you have a point and shoot, there is even a macro mode on some camera phones. It's fun to get close-up pictures, and of course, you can always get macro adapters that go on your camera phone, iPhone, and which ones do you? I used to use an Allo clip
Auto clip was one. There's a whole ton of them that
you just
can
clip
put
right on, and that's kind of cool.
Clip on.
Yeah, that's probably
it's
what I would do. That's a lot cheaper. It's $60 instead of $1,500.
Yeah,
a little bit more affordable. Chris Marquardt, you could find all of his stuff, including his workshops upcoming. In fact, you've just set up a workshop for 2020 to Lake Baikal.
Planning ahead.
Wow, Lake Baikal is the largest freshwater lake in the world in Siberia. Find out more at discoverthetopfloor.com, and you can also get a look at his images there. And I bet you'll find his podcast somewhere around those environs, right?
Absolutely.
What's our assignment? We're still working on
the hat assignment.
Hat. Take a picture illustrating the concept hat, whatever that means to you. Tag it with the word hat, upload it to Flickr, and then submit it to the Tech Guy group. And in a few weeks, we're both out of town. When we get back, we'll do a review. Thank you, Chris. Safe travels. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. More calls right after this. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy on the bongos, baby. 8888 Ask Leo. 888. I could play the bongos. I could do that. Yeah. 8888 Ask Leo. 888-827-5536. On we go with the show. John, Traverse City, Michigan. Hello, John.
Hey, Leo. Jack Raftery.
Good.
Leo, I'll just give you a little background first.
Yeah.
I learned punch card Fortran on the ENIAC.
Wow.
In college.
Okay.
Bought an Apple II when I moved to California, and then a processor tech sold dual 8-inch floppies later in Danville, and then subsequently an Amiga when I moved to Texas, and then an OQO. I'm now on an MSI board, and I built myself, and I went to load the new Windows 10 version, or I didn't do it, it did it, and it lost my CD-ROM, and I think it's a software problem. I can eject the disk, I can do a lot of things, but I can't read the data on the disk. And I think some of the software must have taken over. I did, just to save you doing it, I did the registry thing to take upper and lower filters out. I was nervous about that, but did it anyhow. And I moved on, and I disconnected. I have two CDs. One's a Blu-ray. I pulled one out and plugged it back in, and I got it back for one use. It had the disc in there at the time, and then immediately it went and did something else, and then it won't read them anymore.
So the other CD's working. It's just the one that's not?
Yes. For a while, I had no CD. Now I have my regular CD. I can get it to run. I've changed the cables around.
When you go into setup, let me ask you a couple of diagnostic questions. When you go into setup, you know, what we used to call BIOS?
Yeah, I can get there.
When you go in there, do you see it?
I see the one CD.
You don't see the other one?
No, I see one of them.
Okay. So that means it's not something wrong with, it's not the laser is out of alignment or something's wrong with the player, which is those things. That's what goes wrong with CD players and DVD players usually. But if you don't see it in setup, it means BIOS isn't seeing it. It means it's not showing up as a piece of hardware on the computer, which means you're right. You should check the cables for sure, because that could be a bad cable. It could be. I mean, it could be the circuit card on it. It's not a Windows problem, I guess is what I'm saying. You connect it to the upgrade to Windows 10, but it's not visible even when you're in setup, which has nothing to do with Windows 10. That's hardware, baby. You're not seeing it. That means it's not Windows 10. It's not a driver issue. It's not a software issue. There's something physical not happening.
Yeah, I'm using a Marvel RAID driver I've worried about, and I have a 6 gigabyte, SATA channel. Yeah. You think it's somewhere in that is the problem?
It doesn't sound like it because everything else is working, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it could easily just be, it's coincidental that it happened when the update. A lot of times people think, well, it happened when this happened. There must be some causal relationship. It could just, I know. There isn't, obviously. It's not, because you don't see it in BIOS.
I was just doing it chronologically. It was the last thing to happen. Yeah.
So that's, of course.
But anyhow, you think I should go into setup again and try and figure out how to...
Well, if you're not seeing it, what that's telling you... I mean, one thing you can do, sometimes this helps, is clear the enhanced system configuration data, the ESCD. There's a non-volatile part of memory that's dedicated to what's in this machine. And maybe that's out of date. And so in a lot of setups, there is a switch to clear that. If you can't clear it in setup, then sometimes it's a jumper on the motherboard. You can jumper it. And the idea being, well, hey, machine, go out and look again, see what you got. And maybe that's enough just to kickstart it, and it says, oh, I didn't see that before. You happen to have a CD drive there. It's also possible, though, it's, if the setup doesn't see it, that's saying, setup gives you a list of all the hardware that's connected. I wanted to call it BIOS setup, but obviously on modern machines is not. It's EFI. It's something completely different. But it's the same general idea as when you're in that setup screen. That's before Windows boots. You press F8 or Shift or Escape or Delete or something to get into that setup screen. It's just, white text on a black background, and it's very simple. That's really the looking into the computer and saying, what do you see? What hardware do you see? And it should see the hard drives. It should see any CDs connected. If it's not seeing it there, it means that at the very beginning of the boot process, this drive is not showing up. So there's some physical issue. Maybe the cable, could be easily. Could be, probably likely is, the CD player itself, it's got a circuit card on there. That's what you're plugging into. That could be fried. That could be damaged. It could be dead. It's not likely, but it's possible it's the channel itself, the thing you're plugging the cable into. But you told me you have another CD or a DVD player, and you also have other hard drives on there. Those probably are using, at least something's using that same channel. If there's anything on that channel that is alive, it ain't the channel. So we're narrowing it down, and it's probably that CD player. And that thing's old, right? I mean, who makes CD players anymore? You could pull it out. I guess they're still cheap to replace if you can find them, and just replace it. I bet you that'd fix it. Honestly, it's not gonna be Windows because it's not showing up in the setup. It's gonna be something a little deeper, and maybe cheaper. Could be cheap. Could be easy to fix. Bad cable, it's easy to fix. Swap the cables. See if if you don't have an extra cable lying around, swap them. See if that fixes it. This is one of those troubleshooting things I talk about this a lot when people call with troubleshooting questions. I can't do anything for you from remote, but all I can do is kind of say, well, here's the process, and an orderly process is always very helpful in figuring these things out. You can just kind of scattershot. Well, let me try this. First thing you did was the registry. Yeah, that's fine, but a waste of time because all you had to do was reboot the machine, go into setup, and see if you could see it. If you can't see it, doesn't matter what the registry's doing. It's irrelevant. So the trick with troubleshooting is to, as with most things with technology and I guess in life, before you do anything, we all want to do something right away. Before you start doing anything, stop, think, do with your mind. Think through the process and see, well, what could this be? And then I always try to troubleshoot the stuff that's the easiest. Editing the registry is not. It's also one of the riskier things you can do. Fiddling with a cable, that's easy. First thing to do, kind of narrow down where the failure is. Figure out what's going wrong, and that's easiest to do is go into setup, see if you see it. If you see it, okay, good. Now, the hardware sees the disk. That means probably everything, the cable's fine, the disk is fine, blah, blah, blah. Now we start looking at Windows. We start looking at the operating system and drivers and stuff like that. But you don't have to go there if it doesn't even see the hardware. Don't have to go there at all. Save yourself some trouble. It's funny with in computer programming. This is a big problem. When kids, college kids, high school kids, young people are learning how to write code. When I learned how to write code, the temptation is just start typing. And to some degree, that's true. When you're first learning, this is what I did. You type 10, print, hello, Leo, 20, go to 10, run. Oh, it works. It's printing my name over and over and over and over. Hey, that's cool. That's okay. That's okay. But that's only okay at the very beginning of your learning process. Really, what you learn when you're learning to code is to think first, code later. Don't type yet. Don't fix yet. Figure out, think about it. What's going on here? What could possibly have gone wrong? Another hour to come. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls right after news. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk about tech, computers, the internet, yeah. Home theater, digital photography. We got smartphones. We got smart watches. We got smart. Everything in the house is smart now, and I'll talk about it. If it's got a chip in it, that's what this show is about. 888-827-5536. That's the phone number, toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada, outside that area. Still toll-free, but you have to use Skype out or something like that to call. But because it's a toll-free number, Skype shouldn't charge you. 8888-ASK. Leo, we have a website where everything we talk about is stored for future reference. All 1,500 and some 18, I guess, episodes. TechGuyLabs.com. The website's divided up into episodes. Each episode divided up into hours. Each hour divided up into segments. There's 4 segments in an hour. You pick the segment in the hour and the show that you want, and you can go there and you can actually listen to the audio. You can read the notes. You watch the video if you so choose. That's all there on the website, and also a place for you to add your thoughts. So if you have a better idea or you want to yell at me, just do it in the website, techguylabs.com. That's free, no sign up. TechGuyLabs.com. Back to the phones. Line 4, Julian in Los Angeles. Hello, Julian.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
That's great. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm calling to give some information to a caller that you had on your, I believe it was at the end of your first segment there. He was a blind person who uses Be My Eyes, and he was looking for a way to use it with a camera.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool? You could walk around. I mean, Be My Eyes will support that. You walk around, but he wanted to, for some reason, he wanted to use it remotely. I'm not sure exactly how he wanted to use it, but what would you think?
I had a couple suggestions, one of which is to maybe consider playing with it on the Android side since it's more open there. They do have the app available for Android. Another thing is there's a service that's kind of like, you could think of it as the enhanced version of Be My Eyes. It's called Aira. The website is www.aira.io. This is a company that does pretty much what Be My Eyes does, except that these people are hired and professionally trained to provide service to blind people in all kinds of fashion.
Oh, that's neat. So Be My Eyes is a volunteer effort. You go, in fact, if you have the app, you can go there right now and somebody will take a picture of a can of corn and say, "What's this?" And you can say
it's a live video stream.
That's a live video stream. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what he wanted that he couldn't do with Be My Eyes directly, but anyway, there you go.
Sometimes it's nice having something that's separate from the phone. So this is where a service like Aira comes in because they work with smart glasses. And it basically means that instead of having to hold the phone in your hand and aim it and stuff like that, you wear glasses, and it's a little more natural when you're looking in a certain direction and you want to know what's there.
How expensive is that?
They've got various different plans. I don't have their pricing plans in front of me at the moment, but they do have various types of plans. And it's a really great service. They also are working on forming partnerships with municipalities and airports and such where they would effectively pick up the cost of providing that service to blind patrons. Several airports do it. Several venues do it. There are employers that are partnering up with Aira where it provides free service to their employees. The employer, I guess, helps to sponsor it. So it's a really great service.
Oh, this is amazing. Amazing. So basically it's like you have somebody, a companion with you saying, okay, that's Jill right there. Here she comes and telling you what you see or stop. Wait a minute. This crosswalk is not clear. That is really neat. And I'm guessing from the name AIRA.io that eventually they'd love to replace the humans with artificial intelligence so that would really bring the cost down, right?
The latest equipment they've shipped out already has a virtual assistant on board. Her name is Chloe. And Chloe, as they say right now, is kind of an infant, but she's learning every day. And I think that is the idea moving into the future.
Yes. Yes, because otherwise, it's kind of, frankly, I think this is going to see more of these startups. That's really the idea behind Uber. Uber doesn't make financial success. They lose money on every ride. They subsidize the rides until you can have self-driving cars. Then Uber can make money. Ira, I'm sure it's the same thing. I mean, essentially, you're paying a human to keep you company. That's going to be expensive. But if an AI can be trained to do the same thing, and I'm sure that's what they're up to, amazing. I mean, that's yeah. And to me, that's what augmented reality. This is basically augmented reality. So you're looking through your glasses. Well, actually, if you're blind, you're not. But you're, for somebody who's sighted, looking through their glasses, but superimposed on that world is additional information. In the case of a blind user, auditorially, they're getting information. They hear somebody saying, "Okay, this is what I'm seeing through your glasses." What a cool idea! Thank you for letting us know about that. AIRA.io.
And you can use it for all kinds of things. I've used it for getting help assembling things. You name it. People have used it for travel.
Sure.
I mean, it's amazing the stuff people come up with.
Wow. Yeah, and that's I think what a lot of the research with augmented reality is exactly that. Is, for instance, we had somebody on with augmented reality glasses that are used in industry, and you don't know how to fix. I'm standing in front of a compressor that's broken. I don't know how to fix it, but I've got somebody on the line who can see what I'm seeing and say, "Yeah, okay, see that?" And he could circle it with a pen. That knob on the right, turn that knob there, and then and you can see what he's drawing onto your vision. And act with it. This is very exciting in the future. I think this is great. Thank you. I appreciate your call.
Oh, you're
really
so welcome.
Neat stuff, Julian. Thank you. AIRA.com. And what's smart is they have a business right now with humans, and that's the same thing I think that Uber's doing. Well, it doesn't make sense financially. We're losing. Uber lost, what was it, almost $1 billion. Last quarter. I mean, just a phenomenal amount of money. But that's not the plan. And the reason people are investing money in Uber, they know they're not going to make money when they have human drivers. Sorry, Uber drivers. The profit all comes when they can fire you and have a self-driving vehicle, because they don't charge nearly as much. They don't take lunch breaks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. We live in interesting times. That's actually the subtitle of this show. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. We live in interesting times. And I love it when you can call and fill me in on something new and tell the world about it as well. 8888 Ask Leo. 8888. I say it so fast, I know. Maybe I'll slow down. 888-827-5536. Give me a call. Let's talk tech. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Let's talk high tech. What do you say? You and me. 888-827-5536. On line 3, Vicky in Rialto, California. Hi, Vicky.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What can I do for you today? You got a problem with your computer?
I have a big problem. I put my computer to sleep and it died in the night.
It never woke up again. Oh.
No. Computer's on. I turned it off and on. I've held down F8. The monitor's on when I just plug, I've turned it off and on, and a little HDMI thing came on the screen. So I think everything's working, but, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So a lot of times when this happens, it is just the connection to the monitor. So a couple of things to try. If you had a spare monitor or a spare monitor cable, I would swap those out. You can tell the computer's on because the fan's going. Can you tell it's on?
No, I can hear it turn on because it makes clunky noises, but I don't hear it running.
It's not making any sound at all.
No,
it could be it died. Usually, if it dies like that, it's a power issue. It's a power supply went bad, something like that. So yeah, turning the monitor off and on tells you that the monitor works because you see that little thing, but then it says, "But I don't see a signal," and it turns itself off again.
Yeah, because the blue light's on that. The computer, it's lit up. I turned it off for a while just to see if something would happen.
How old is the computer?
I think it's about 3 years old.
It's a little premature to kick the bucket.
Yeah.
Let me think what other things you could try. So I would try this, and this is always a good idea. When a computer does this, sometimes it's on-ish. So it's not on enough to show you anything, but it's still doing something. So first thing I do is press and hold the on-off button for about 10 seconds. Make sure it's really turned off. And then once you've done that, unplug it. Is it a laptop or a desktop?
No, it's a desktop.
Yeah, unplug it. So you're really, what you're doing is you're killing it dead. Sometimes
I think I did it already.
Yeah, well, sometimes it goes to sleep and doesn't wake up. It doesn't mean it's gone.
Yeah, I hope not.
So,
I just went through something similar. It said there was a memory problem. Anyhow, the guy that fixed it, he just reinstalled Windows, which I didn't like because then my whole everything
I had to start over.
all over the place,
Yeah.
you know, and that. But so
is that the same computer or a different computer?
no, it's the same one. I
So
only
this
have
is-
one, and I live on this thing. And
Yeah. This has happened before.
yeah, sort of. It was a memory thing, and the screen came on, and then it wouldn't do it, but it had an error thing on it, you know.
Okay.
And so
it was at least booting up. Yeah, he may not have fixed it. He may have just kind of kicked it a
I'm
little bit.
thinking.
I think how long ago was that?
A month.
Yeah. No, it sounds like maybe this is part 2 of the same problem. So first thing I would do before anything is that full shutdown process I talked about, and leave it unplugged. So press and hold the on-off switch for 10 seconds. That says, really, I'm serious, turn off.
Okay, well, it was the light was off and everything, and then when I push it again, then you.
I understand, but that's what I want you to do. Try it, okay? Push and hold it and turn it off, make it fully off, and then once you've done that, and you only do that just to protect yourself, because the real fix here, this is the real resuscitation, is unplugging the machine and leaving it unplugged for a minute or two. Just let it sit for a minute or two.
Okay,
Then plug it in and turn it on as normal, and cross your fingers. It might start up again.
Okay.
In which
I
case,
just hold it down.
it was sometimes when they sleep too hard and they can't wake up.
Is it better to put it on sleep or better to turn it off every night?
It's fine to have it sleep. I would not have it hibernate. So there's two kinds of sleep. There's the low power sleep where it's still feeding the memory. The thing that needs power on that thing is the RAM. It cannot hold the contents of the memory without some power. But that's really all that needs power. So the computer will go into low power mode where it's refreshing the RAM memory, but nothing else. That's just a few watts, literally. Less than a light bulb, lots less. Less than a night light. But what you don't want to do is hibernate, which is a little bit different. The hibernation, it saves the contents of RAM to the hard drive, and then attempts to reload it from the hard drive and start up again. And that's a completely off state, but the difference between turning it off and hibernating is that you've saved the contents of memory. Don't do that. No computer I know does that well. So I always disable
I do the sleep thing, you know. I go to the little thing and it
You don't need to do that. Just go in your power settings and say after I don't use you for 15 minutes or whatever, you want, just say go to sleep. I wouldn't actively sleep it. Just let it sleep.
But I mean, so I hit that sleep, so is that the same as the hibernate?
No.
Okay.
It depends how it's set. It's in the power settings. What you tell the computer what to do when I press that button. When I press your on-off switch briefly, what do you do? And it'll say sleep. I would just ignore that. You don't need to do that. I don't ever turn or touch the on-off button. I just leave it. And it'll sleep after a little while, and that's fine.
Okay, so do you leave yours on at night?
Yep, never turn it off.
Okay.
I will. We're going on a 3.
Files
No. We're going on a 3-week vacation. I'll turn it off then. Just because.
Oh yeah. Well, I do that too.
Yeah, but
I mean,
overnight,
every night.
No.
Okay.
No, don't turn it off overnight. Just let it go to sleep.
Okay.
Let it go to sleep. Let it go to sleep on its own. I'm not sure that pressing that button's such a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, just let it go to sleep on its own. The screen will go off after you set the time and whatever's convenient for you. And then the hard drive will shut down. It does it bit by bit. You can find all this in the power settings.
Okay.
So, but so the last time when you brought it to the guy, what was happening? What was going wrong? You got a memory
it had
error?
a message that said there was a memory problem, and I can't remember exactly what it said. And so he said, well, he talked to me. He said, I may have to redo Windows. And I always hear horror stories about that, and now I've lived through it, and I agree. But anyhow, I just thought, well, okay. And he made a backup of what was on there because he got it to come on. But he made a backup, and so I have the backup, and then I also have Carbonite. Then I just got what do you call them? The little, it's a a backup drive.
Good.
I just want to make sure I have photos,
good.
everything. You know, I can take this one with me.
Yeah. You always want to have those backups. That's very important.
I mean, because I've got a lot of photos on here.
You're
and then,
doing it right. You're doing it right.
Yeah. So okay. Well, and so
I think it's
this
possible.
Is a Dell, but I've never had a Dell until this one, and I'm not real happy with it. I always get HP, but I don't know, what kind of thing to look for.
You're the same. It doesn't matter. I would just Dell's fine. It's not that. I'm not sure exactly what's gone wrong. When you say a memory error, there's memory can be. It could be it was running out of hard drive space. That's a storage error. Or if there's a memory error, is there a physical problem with a chip? Or what? I don't know. And that's the thing. I don't know if your guy did anything sensible. So
yeah, I don't either.
I don't know what the error really is. If there's a hardware error on the thing, then it's definitely could be related to what just happened. So try the complete shutdown. If it's not coming on, what you want to do, and look, you can see if you look on the back, if it's a power supply issue, you can see on the back where the fan opening is. See if you can shine a flashlight in there. See if the fan is spinning. If the fan is spinning, then it's not a dead power supply. If it's not spinning at all, then there's some physical problem. Could be the power supply, could be the switch. May or may not be related to the error you were getting before. I don't think so. You never got that error again, though, after you rebuilt it, right?
No.
Yeah, so maybe you were just running out of hard drive space. I'm not sure exactly what's wrong. It's hard for me to tell. But
I got it.
Try this anyway and see if that's it. And maybe get a better guy, to be honest with you, who's a little more helpful. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, driving home in my little red Corvette. 8888. Ask Leo the phone number. Got to thank Michael Cozio, our musical director, for making this show jazzy, all jazzy and fun. Jack in Riverside. Hello, Jack.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
Hello, Leo. I got a problem with my iPhone.
Okay.
I bought an adapter from Apple, and I want to watch my TV in the trailer in my RV, but it doesn't work.
You got the HDMI adapter for the iPhone?
Yes, sir.
And you plugged it into the TV, and you're playing some video on the iPhone, and you just don't see it on the TV.
Correct. I got it plugged in from the movies on my phone, and that's what it's supposed to do, but it doesn't do anything.
Yeah. I get this complaint a lot, and I have a feeling there's something going on. And I think one thing I've noticed is a lot of people are complaining about this recently. Like Apple made some change in iOS 11 that blocked this. And I apologize because I keep meaning to try this myself. I have a Lightning to HDMI adapter and trying it. You're not the first person. You're about the fourth person in the last 2 weeks who's complained about this. I think Apple changed something. In most cases, people say it used to work. It doesn't work anymore. I don't know if it's copy protection that Apple is blocking it or what. I mean, they sell that adapter. It's a Lightning adapter with an HDMI and a power connector on it, so you can keep the thing powered up while you're playing it back. It has worked in the past.
I plug it into my receiver, and I can get audio, but if I plug it into the TV, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah. I wish I had an answer for you. I think this is something
I wish you did too.
Yeah, that is not where, and you paid a lot for that thing. It's like a $40 or $50 adapter, right? Can you look at photos? Can you see your screen? Is any video at all coming through from that?
Not on the TV. Nothing happens.
Nothing. Just the audio.
Correct.
See, it's supposed to work. You're supposed to be able to do that. Otherwise, there'd be no point in selling that dongle.
I bought one at Best Buy, and my wife bought me one on Groupon.
And both of them came from Apple, right?
Correct.
So you've tried it with two different ones. Neither one works.
Correct.
Do you have iOS, just for my own information, iOS 11 on your iPhone?
I'm not.
You keep it up to date. You keep it up to date, right? Yeah. So that'll be iOS 11. iOS 12 comes out next month. You could try restarting the iPhone. This for some reason works in a lot of cases. Turning it all the way off and all the way on again. Not just turning off the screen, but pressing and holding the on-off switch. On the iPhone 10, you have to also press, I think, the power down or the volume down button, I should say. But get it to the where it says slide to turn it off and turn it back on again. Do it with that stuff all connected and see if it works. Okay.
Okay.
So in theory, I'm reading from Apple's own information. As long as your TV's set to the right HDMI port, I'm sure it is. That's the first thing you'd check. When the correct HDMI input is found, iOS will detect the secondary screen and immediately start projecting the phone onto the TV. So you should see, your icons. You should see your phone's desktop on the TV.
Oh, okay.
If you're not, something's not working. And I don't know what. And the thing is, I'm hearing this a lot all of a sudden. So I think the answer is Apple did something in the last few updates over the last month or two that has made this stop working. Now I'm going to see if we can get some help from Apple on this one, and I'm going to check the Apple. And you might want to check the Apple support sites on this one, because I think this is it a bug, or did Apple decide somehow to implement copy protection? I don't know, but I think your experience is becoming universal, and I apologize because it was one of my assignments 2 weeks ago to go home and try this. Chat room, have you tried this? Scooter X said I did a few weeks ago on a customer's iPhone, and it worked. What could be wrong here? He's tried two different HDMI connectors. Maybe try a different cable. I think shutting the iPhone all the way down and booting it up and then doing the same for the TV. It may be, now what does happen sometimes with HDMI is the handshake. The two different devices have to talk to each other and say, well, what frame rate can you support? Oh, I can support 29.9. Oh, well, what resolution would you like? Well, I can do 1080p. Can you do 1080p? Yeah, I can do 1080p. Okay, well, let's do that then. There's a little handshake that goes on, a little conversation. And sometimes if that doesn't work, you don't get a picture. So one way to, I hate to have to do this, but it seems kind of primitive, but it's to turn everything off, turn it on one by one, trying different orders, unplugging and replugging the cable, trying to kickstart the handshake. Mike Mann in our chat room is sending me a thread from Apple Discussions, 807-9462. Apple Lightning DV adapter no longer works after iOS 11 update. Yeah, that's what people are seeing. Maybe it's the TV. The Pioneer, this one person has a Pioneer TV and said you got to update. I don't know. Maybe make sure your TV is up to date. The thing is, this is in some cases it worked, and then it stopped working, and that's why I think it's an update. It's something Apple did. Let's put it in the show notes. We'll put it at least for you. Maybe this will help you out a little bit, Jack, or at least reassure you. We'll put the Apple discussion thread. This is from late last year. Wow, very frustrating. I've tried everything since the update to get it working again. Just to get a picture on the TV, videos won't play. Hoping for a solution. Reset it. Reset the phone. Not reset, but turn it all the way off and on. Look for updates on the TV. Maybe we can figure this out. And I have to go home and do this. I apologize for not doing my homework. I was supposed to do this last week. We do a show on the podcast network called iOS Today, and we've been getting the same question on iOS Today. That's why I think it's when you get more than 2 or 3 people asking about something at the same time, it usually means it's something going on. And Apple's done something, and I think it had to do with iOS 11. So I'm glad you have 2 different dongles, because that means it ain't the dongle. His wife got one and he got one, and neither one works. Tis a puzzlement. That's kind of the nature of technology these days. Tis a puzzlement. Line 2, Micah in Maine. Hello, Micah.
Hello, Leo. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I think I have a solution to the caller that called earlier looking for sort of a pop mail situation.
Yeah. He didn't want to use Gmail anymore, and he uses Thunderbird.
Right, and I use Thunderbird with my Gmail. Actually, what I do is I use Thunderbird with Gmail and Outlook, but with Outlook mail, or old Hotmail, which is still Outlook, I set up my Thunderbird with a PopMail account.
Yeah.
And Outlook allows.
Well, Gmail and Outlook, we both work with Pop. He just doesn't want anybody to store his mail on a server. That's the problem. And that's why we were saying PopMail, because you remember in the old days of PopMail, you would download all the mail from the server and it would delete it. He's looking for somewhere to store his mail that doesn't store it. And I think he may be out of luck. That's why I ended up recommending an encrypted email provider called Proton Mail, where even though they store it, they can't read it. If privacy was apparently is his concern, that's the solution. Hey, thank you, Micah. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Is that where you were going with that? Because, yeah, he didn't want to store it anywhere, so Outlook wouldn't have worked either. Yeah.
Not at all, because when I use Thunderbird, I download it through PopMail on Thunderbird. It takes it off. It's not stored on Thunderbird.
So you can instruct Outlook not to store the mail.
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. You can. I don't know about.
I will mention that. I will when we come back. I will say, "Oh, okay." Mike explained to me what he was talking about. Okay. Yeah, I ran out of time. I'm sorry.
No problem.
So Outlook, when you use Outlook, and this is Outlook.com, right?
Yeah. Let me.
Hotmail, the old Hotmail.
Yeah, the old Hotmail.
Yeah. So both Outlook and Gmail support POP3, but what you're saying, you're verifying, and actually I don't even know if you do it with Gmail, is that it delete the mail from the server, and that's what he wanted.
Yeah, and that happens easily with Outlook without any problem at all.
Yeah.
And I use both because sometimes I'll be online. I can leave it there if I have to.
Right.
Because I pull it off on Thunderbird, it's gone.
Stands to reason. If you really, why wouldn't they delete your mail? If you wanted it deleted, well, I know why, because then they can't scan it. But it does stand to reason that they would, if you wanted to delete it, you would delete it. Yeah.
Absolutely. It works perfectly well. I do it regularly. It's very, very handy. Or on one of my Thunderbird accounts, I have it both in POP and in IMAP, but I pull it off the IMAP side of it and put it into the POP side of it, and it pulls right there. It's not a problem.
Right. Mike, I knew both Gmail and Outlook supported POP, but that doesn't necessarily mean they support all of the POP features like deleting the mail on the server. They may just supported the protocol so you could fetch the mail using a POP protocol. So that's good to know. Outlook supports the delete part of that as well.
Absolutely does.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Micah.
Great. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Take care. Now I'm getting out of my little red Corvette, and I'm going to get in that midnight train to Georgia, slowly making my way to Barcelona, bit by bit. 8888 Ask Leo. Last segment of the show. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I was talking off the air to Micah in Maine, who was calling, and he said, here's an interesting thing. So I know that Gmail and Outlook support the POP protocol. That's the old email protocol. What I wasn't sure about is if they merely supported it in the way that they would let you get mail from their server, or if they fully supported it and allowed you to delete the mail after you get it. Remember, that's how it used to be with your early email with your internet service provider. The internet service provider didn't want to store your mail. They wanted you to clear it off the server. So when you used your, what was it, Outlook Express in those days to download your email, it would delete it from the server unless you explicitly said leave it there. By the way, I think that's the single most important reason IMAP exists, is because people got more than one device. And they said, well, yeah, okay, I got the email on my computer, but what about my phone and my desktop and my tablet? And so IMAP doesn't delete it. IMAP, your email client is just a window into your email, which is stored on the server permanently, unless you explicitly delete it on the server. And that was important for webmail also, because webmail is just a view into that IMAP server, on the browser. And that really was kind of the death knell for POP. The POP post office protocol just kind of started to go away. However, enough people still have the old programs that don't support IMAP, that Gmail and Outlook and Yahoo all support POP Mail. They can allow you to download it. What I wasn't sure about, and Micah reassures me that you can do this, is it still will, if you say so, delete the mail from the server. Actually, I guess that's the default behavior. It'll delete. So if you, at least with Outlook.com, you can use Outlook.com as your email provider. And when you go out and you get your mail, it'll delete it from the server. And that was what our caller earlier in the show was worried about. He didn't want Microsoft or Google to have a copy of his email. I mean, they got a copy. They could keep a copy if they wanted to, hide it. But really, honestly, if privacy is your chief concern, you don't want your email sitting anywhere in the outside world. That's why Proton Mail would be a very good choice, because they can't see it if somebody came to them, federal law enforcement, the Swiss police, the condottieri came to them and said, please, we want to get the email for this guy. They'd say, well, you can have it, but you won't be able to read it. We don't know what it says because it's encrypted and we don't have the key. That, to me, was what you really want. Because then then nobody ever had it. It was always, encrypted and hidden. Even if you use that POP3 and it deletes the mail on Outlook and Gmail, they had it for a while until you came and got it. That might have been enough time to go through it, if that's what you're worried about. Or save it for law enforcement, if that's what you're worried about. Richard, West L.A., Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How you doing?
I am great. How are you, Richard?
Oh, pretty good. I've been trying to set up the DNS, and I've gone into settings, and the only option I seem to get is to set up a VPN.
No, that's not it. So DNS, the domain name server, is basically the big internet phone book. So when you enter in an address like yahoo.com, it converts it into an address like 179.73.12.3. That's the actual address of the server. Just like a phone book will take your name and convert it into a phone number. Every computer on the internet has a unique one and only IP address. That's what it's called. Just like a phone number. If two people had the same phone number, that wouldn't work so well. If two servers had the same IP address, that wouldn't work so well. So a DNS is just that. Normally, you'd use your internet service provider's phone book. And in that case, you don't need to do anything. If you just got a new router, is that what happened?
No, I've just been listening to you over the years, and you've been recommending DNS as
yeah.
really safe.
Okay, now I get it. So I get what you're doing. So you have been using the ISP's DNS, but there's some reasons people don't want to. For one thing, ISPs are notoriously snoopy. And they might be recording every address you look up. Hey, knock it off. They also, and this is really bad, most ISPs don't do this, but some do. If they control the DNS, they can inject advertising into your stream. Actually, Comcast does it, but they only do it if you've ever. I'm on Comcast, and towards every month, I get a pop-up that says you're getting close to your bandwidth cap, dude. Thanks, Comcast. Why do you have bandwidth caps in the first place? But the only way they can put that pop-up into my stream is because they control the DNS. So
how do I switch it over to DNS?
Yeah. So there are other ones. There's OpenDNS.com, which I love.
Okay, and how do I get that?
Well, let me tell you. So I'll give you a couple of different choices. There's also Quad Ones, which is done by Cloudflare, 1.1.1.1. And that's private. That's about private. It might even be a little faster. Cloudflare is a big company that provides bandwidth to other people who need, to be able to resist denial of service attacks and stuff. So Cloudflare has so much bandwidth. There's also Quad 9s, which is another privacy one. Let's say you don't want to use your internet service provider's DNS. There's two ways you can do it. You can do it on an individual computer, one by one. The DNS settings are in the computer's network settings. But a better way to do it would be at the router, because then everything in your house would use that new DNS. And I presume that's what you've been doing.
I've been trying to.
Yeah, you log onto your router, and there should be an area that says DNS.
Uh-huh.
Have you found that in your router configuration?
No, I haven't gone into the router. Frankly, I've never touched the router.
Yeah. So that's typically on most routers, you do that through the web page. So a router has a little web server on it, and in your router documentation, which of course you've misplaced years ago, but you could look it up online, it'll say, oh yeah, like Linksys, 192.1.1.100. And you enter that into your browser, and then it'll say, okay, if you did it right, if it's the right address, it'll say, all right, what's the login and password? And if you haven't changed that, it'll be what the default is. In many cases, it's admin. By the way, that's the first thing you should change if you haven't. So if you remember what you changed it to, you log in. Now it'll be very obvious. There'll be a place where DNS settings are. Often what they do in a shadow script, like a light gray script, is they'll show your internet service provider settings because that's the default. If you don't provide an alternative setting, that's what it's going to use. That's what it gets. It gets from the internet service provider. That's part of the information the ISP sends to your router. So you'll see that, and that's where you would enter the 1.1.1.1. Now, before you do that, you probably want to go to the page that you're going to do that from, because usually you want two addresses. So quad ones is 1.1.1.1 and 1.0.0.1. But if you look, they will tell you how to do it one by one. In fact, if you go to 1.1.1.1, set up on PC, they show you how to do it on iPhone, an Android phone, Mac OS, Windows, Linux, and my preferred method, which is in the router. And they'll even give you IPv6 addresses. Yeah. If you do it on the router, then your kid can't change it. Everybody's using it. I use OpenDNS because OpenDNS has additional filtering, which is really awesome. So if you have kids in the house, for instance, you can filter out adult content, gambling, violent content, that kind of thing. Plus log the kind of traffic you're getting and all sorts of stuff. They have some very sophisticated stuff.
Do you find that OpenDNS increases the speed of the whole system?
That will really vary. So generally, your internet service provider has the fastest DNS, unless you have a junky ISP, which almost all of us do, and they don't allocate enough resources to it. They have too many people using too few machines, whatever, and it's slow. If it is slow, then a third-party DNS, and there are lots of them, Google has one, Verizon has one, will be better. If you really care about this stuff, my friend Steve Gibson has written a DNS benchmark program you can run on Windows that you can run, and because it's different it's different in every locale, right? It's different with every internet service provider. So you really have to do it yourself to find out if you're going to get a benefit. It has many provided. You can add more. If it doesn't have quad ones, you can add quad one. Run it, and it'll tell you what the fastest DNS providers are for you.
Very good.
We'll put a link in the show notes, but it's at grc.com/DNS/benchmark.htm. Yeah, it's a nice little program. Very handy. And you only need to run it once. It'll give you a general gist of, is my internet service provider doing a good job, or should I be going somewhere else? There are a lot of good choices out there.
Check that out when you put it up on the board.
Yeah, we'll put it on the Tech Guy Labs.
Great.
Thanks for the call. Have a great day. Thank you. I will. A reminder, I am going away, but I will have 2 fresh weekends worth of shows. Next weekend and the weekend after, we recorded ahead, so we've got all new content for you. You'll never know I'm gone. And then the following weekends, the middle of the month, Rich Tamuro from KTLA will be filling in, and he's great. He'll be doing live shows. We did that because we think the Apple event is coming up, and we want Rich to be able to talk about the new iPhone because I won't be here to do it. And then I'll be back later in the month, and we'll resume as if nothing happened. Thanks to Michael Cozio, our musical director, Kim Schaffer, who's answering the phones. Thanks to all of you. Really couldn't do the show without you. I'm Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a great Geek Month. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.